HarperCollins presents Heartache for the Shop Girls by Joanna Toye. Read by Becky Wright. Chapter 1. August 1942. The writing above the clock on the first floor of Marlow's read Tempus Fugit. That, Lily had learnt, meant time flies. Well, if time was flying this morning, it was a bird with a broken wing, a Spitfire spluttering home with half its fuselage shot away, a bee drowsily drunk on pollen. It might be half-day closing, but with the sale over and many customers away, Wednesday mornings in August could seem longer than full days. August was the strangest month, thought Lily, as she spaced the hangers on the girls' pinafores the regulation half-inch apart. It had a sleepy, droopy eyelids feel. And it was still summer, but it often felt as if summer was over, with a blank white sky, shorter days, the leaves crisping and the shadows lengthening on the grass. And things happened in August. Not always good things. The Great War had started in August, and so had this one pretty much, with the wait for Hitler's undertaking that had never come. She looked across to furniture and household, hoping to catch Jim's eye, but he was with a customer. He was tipping a kitchen chair this way and that, demonstrating its sturdiness. He took his job very seriously. Jim took lots of things seriously, and plenty not so seriously. It was a combination that had first attracted her to him. But whether he was testing her or teasing her, Lily had accepted the challenge. "Miss Collins, customer." Lily snapped to attention and smoothed down her dress as Mrs. Mortimer approached. She was one of the first customers Lily had served after her promotion from junior to sales, and a kind, tweedy soul. So it had been a gentle dunking, not a baptism of fire. Mrs. Mortimer would only be looking, or doing a recce, as she put it, on behalf of one of her busy daughters or daughters-in-law, before she or they returned with the essential coupons to make the purchase. But it was all good practice. Lily began as she had been taught. "Good morning, Mrs. Mortimer. How are you? How may I help you?" On Toy's next door, Lily's friend Gladys was dusting Dobbin, the much-loved play-corner rocking horse, and thinking much the same about the time. When you had nothing to do on your afternoon off, a long morning didn't matter. But when there was something you were looking forward to, my, did it drag. This afternoon, there was a little party planned at Lily's, a welcome home for their friend Beryl's husband. Les Bulpit had been invalided home from North Africa, to everyone's relief and delight, especially Beryl's, now a proud mother to baby Bobby. Les had been away for Bobby's birth, so hadn't seen his son as a newborn. Now he was home, they could be a proper family. Gladys sighed happily. Thoughts of contented married couples always led to thoughts of her fiancé Bill, and how contented she would be when they were married, and especially when they started their family. A husband and children were all Gladys had ever wanted, and Bill was the answer to years of fervent prayers. Had it been wrong to pray for something like that? Gladys wondered now, when there were bigger things to pray for, like an end to starvation and cruelty and persecution. She probably ought to pray for forgiveness for having been so shallow and selfish, but she was too busy praying for a speedy end to the war, and for Bill to be kept safe in the meantime. On furniture and household, Jim had made his sale. "If you sign here, please, Mrs. Jenkins, I'll send this up to the cash office to get your receipt." He stuffed the sheets into the little drum, rolled it shut, and inserted it into the pneumatic tube. Off it whizzed upstairs. Jim smiled at Mrs. Jenkins, another of the store's regular customers. "I'm not sure when we can deliver, I'm afraid," he began. "With the new petrol regulations." Mrs. Jenkins held up her hand. "Don't worry, a few days won't matter. We've been without a kitchen chair for months. I had to give Cook one of the dining chairs when the old one got past repairing. I'm grateful you had anything, even second-hand." "Oh, the utility scheme will help," Jim said. "We should get more regular supplies." Mrs. Jenkins looked sceptical. "Newlyweds get first dibs, though." "Oh, yes, and anyone who's been bombed out." The tube throbbed as the cylinder plopped back into the little cup at its base. Jim retrieved it and handed Mrs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?